In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, family, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles King, and tonight we continue our mission of honoring legacy, amplifying voices, and uncovering the stories that shape our communities. On this December 1st, Season 3, Episode 160, we shine a spotlight on a man whose journey embodies resilience, excellence, and service. From the streets of Miami to the fields of Florida International University and Valdosta State, Elgin E.J. Hilliard rose as a quarterback who didn't just play the game, he redefined it, breaking records, earning honors, and carrying his team with precision and leadership. His talent was undeniable, but his story didn't stop at college glory. In the Indoor Football League, he became a force to be reckoned with. Twice named Offensive Player of the Year, his career reflects not only skill, but determination, discipline, and the ability to elevate everyone around him. Now, EJ channels that same fire into coaching and mentorship, building his academy to empower the next generation of athletes. His work extends beyond the field. It's about community, legacy, and showing young people that greatness is not just about touchdowns, but about impact. Tonight, we'll explore his life story, his transition from player to coach, and his vision for empowering communities through sports and mentorship. This is more than football, it's about leadership, legacy, and the power of giving back. So stay with us because his conversation promises to inspire challenge and remind us all why stories like E.J. Hilliard's mattered in America in black and white. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. E.J. Hilliard. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing just excellent.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction. That was awesome.
Well, I definitely appreciate. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Uh, First of all, man of God, husband, father of four beautiful kids. Uh, just thankful to be here, man. Just thankful for the support. Thank you for this opportunity. Want to thank my wife for giving me the room to be able to speak freely. She took the kids with her, so I definitely appreciate that for sure. And work let me off early today, so it all worked out perfectly.
Well, look, I definitely appreciate this because I know when we first had the opportunity to chat and me getting to learn a little bit about your story and so forth, I really thought and I really feel like your story, the things that you're doing are things that not just impact communities, but build communities. And that's what we're about. And I know that that's one of the things that's a part of your repertoire for the many things that you do.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's definitely right on point.
And so I'd like to start first by, by letting the people get the opportunity to get to know you, and let's talk a little bit about your early life and inspiration. Can you tell us, growing up in Miami, what first drew you to football?
Growing up in Miami, I want to say my dad. I think I was about 5 or 6 years old. I believe we were at my grandma's house, and he brought me like a Miami Dolphins uniform set, and it came with the helmets, the shoulder pads, the jersey, the football, the whole 9 yards. And I just remember like a clear box that it came in, and I want to say that's where it started. My dad played football, Um, and obviously he passed it down. My granddad played football, so it was in my blood. And I just want to say it started with my dad. He first gave it to me, first gave me the football, and then from there it just took off. Just grew to love the game, and just was gifted in it. And I wanted to just give back, and I wanted to serve. And the more you play, the older you get, the more you understand it's bigger than football. So that's what kept me going outside of just being naturally talented and working hard at the game. So that was where the start came from. So it definitely came from my dad.
So you're saying that this is just ingrained in your DNA.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely ingrained in my DNA. It comes simple, it comes easy. Me and my friends we used to always joke, especially in high school, like how do you know the trajectory to make the right pass or to launch the football at a certain aim or a certain depth or a certain speed to get it to somebody that's running. And all my years of football, I've never thrown the football and watched the football get to its destination. I've always just thrown the football and just looked at the person that I was intended to throw it to. So it just the uniqueness in the game, and like I said, it's just ingrained in the DNA. And it's my youngest son now. He always walks around with a little football that life got him, and it's just ingrained in the DNA.
So who were your biggest influences during your childhood?
It started with my dad. Uh, young age, we would play the video game. We would play Madden. So he would teach me through that, about football and what football entailed. And then obviously I grew up with my dad. I had a two-parent household, so I was blessed to be able to have my mom and my dad in my life from start to now. And he just taught me a lot. We played chess a lot. I ended up joining the chess club in middle school. Ended up winning two awards in middle school through chess. So football and chess were like the two main things that my dad always stayed on me about. He never forced sports on me, so he never like you got to play. It was always it's your choice, it's your opportunity, whatever it is. We're gonna support it. But I think he always knew deep down inside I was a quarterback, and then from there it's just my uncle, my mom's brother, Tommy Richardson. He definitely was a huge impact on my life as well. North Carolina graduate, so I grew up a Tar Heel fan because of him, and he showed me the way. He paved the way, and he was always somebody that I could call on. Somebody that my dad would always tell me, call your uncle if you need advice and stuff like that. That he couldn't get through to me, so I would say those two were the main biggest supporters, the biggest role models for a young man like me.
So can you tell me, so like just when all of this is just happening here, that's with with the football and how you've actually got into this.
Yeah.
Like as you were growing up, was there ever a point and a time that you felt like, especially learning to play chess, is this where you first learn how to strategize? Especially when it comes to competition, because chess is like the ultimate strategy, and it's about the mind.
Yeah.
So, what was that like?
First, it was tough because we would start off. I want to say we started off playing a video game, and my dad would just always win, and that's when I understood the competitive nature of once you get into sports, it's a winner and a loser. So you're going to be either or, and then through that, it probably took about a good year for me to be able to beat him. But like in that time frame, my mom would always like she would see it, and she would see like how pissed off I would get, how frustrated I would get. And I think I remember the first time I beat my dad, like I was just trash talking and just talking crazy, talking fly. And I think that's where it kicked in that. And then we had like a clear chessboard, and we would just play, and he would teach me through that. And that's where the strategy and stuff came from. Not moving too fast, thinking, trying to be 2-3 steps ahead, and mostly like a game plan, like coming up with a game plan. Obviously, having a move that you want to make, but being able to anticipate, your opponent, being able to think how they think, or be able to see the game from not just your point of view, but your opponent's point of view. And as a quarterback, it goes hand in hand because you're an extension of the coaching staff on the field, but you're also a player. So you have to be cerebral enough to understand what your coach is trying to do, but you got to be savvy enough as a player and as a teammate to be able to articulate that to your guys. You got some guys that just play football that just like, man, I'm rolling out the bed. I just want to get away from what I'm dealing with, and I just hit a play. And then you got some guys that are like, man, this is all I got. Like, what's the main goal? What are we trying to do as a team? And let's get to that. And then you got some guys that are super talented at the game, don't necessarily love it, but they're just super talented to where it's like, man, I'm just doing it because I was blessed to do it. So from that, being able to navigate and strategize and understand the different components of a team and knowing how to go about it, knowing which guys you can, lead a stern way, knowing which guys you got to lead a little passive, and knowing which guys you got to be on them almost like a kid or almost like a parent. So chess definitely started that, and then being able to play with the clock and understanding how much time you got, understanding the time component of it and going against opponents. So because I remember the championship I won in middle school with chess, the guy just ran out of time because he was just thinking too hard. Like he was just overthinking, overanalyzing every move. And once I realized, okay, he's fighting against the time, now I'm no longer really trying to beat him. Now I'm just trying to stall him as long as I can because I know I'm going to win by default because he's just going to run out of time. So it's being able to understand those little nuances. Like sometimes the game is, hey, we're going to run the ball 50 times to win. Hey, we might have to pass it 50 times. Hey, we just need to keep that other guy off the field. How we're going to get this time of possession. So just understanding the different nuances of the game and how to exploit it, so to speak.
So, how did your community shape your early ambitions?
I shaped it extremely, extremely well. I grew up in Liberty City, Miami, Florida. The Pork and Bean Projects. So I think it was the first integrated African American project in the world, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but it taught you a lot of lessons. It was a lot of poverty, but a lot of people that just were super talented, and then you got to see people that was talented and they just threw it away because they didn't have any hope. Then you got some people that just didn't have the right guidance. Some people that just fell by the wayside, but super talented area. And I'm grateful that the generation I grew up with, we were all kind of like similar. Like some of us had our parents, both parents. Some of us had a good head on our shoulders, and we were able to bounce ideas off of each other. We were able to like feed off of each other, still compete with each other, but still, befriend each other to the point where we were able to keep each other on track outside of our parents. So say seeing things that you shouldn't have seen at a young age and knowing like, man, I don't want this for my life, or I want to get out of this, or I don't want to just wake up to this every day, and understanding, what, I gotta keep my attention focused on what it is that I want to do, and seeing guys before you go off to college and knowing it's possible. And these guys are being tangible guys that you could touch, talk to, and it's not just a far-fetched idea, but it's guys that I know, or guys that know my family, and hey man, this is the route, this is what football can do for you, and then going from there. So it definitely shaped me a lot.
Well, I'll tell you this. I do remember a few years ago, I saw an actual cable special on Liberty City, and they had the little boys that were playing football. And apparently, that has been a tradition coming from that area where they have these guys that come out to be like outstanding athletes.
Oh yeah.
And so that means that you came from a good place.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely a gift and a curse. And definitely a good place. Like you said, it's a lot of super talented athletes that are still playing right now to this day that
Mhm.
come from there. A lot of guys before me that paved the way that came through there. So it's definitely one of the rich areas as far as talent, as far as the game of football specifically is concerned.
So, what lessons from your upbringing still guide you today?
The first one was patience. Uh, I learned that at an early age, high school. Sit behind Teddy Bridgewater as a 10th grade. I got moved up to varsity, so about 4 games in as a freshman, a full season as a sophomore, and a full season as a junior, and not want to be rushed out there on the football field. Obviously, people are like, "Man, you got the ability. Like, you should transfer. You should go play somewhere. You can go play as a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. You don't have to sit and wait your turn." And I want to say patience was the main thing that helped carry me to this day, because there are many times in life, trials, tribulations, and learning that at a young age, at 14, 13, 15 years old, it sets you up better the older you get, because it's like, it's not the first time I've been through this. It's not the first time I'm facing a challenge. It's not the first time I'm sitting behind somebody that may be a little more advanced than I am, a little more skilled than me. And it's not a necessarily let me hate on this person, or let me find a flaw in this person. It's more so, what, this person is in front of me for a reason. Let me learn. Let me see how they operate. Let me see what things I could take from them and to myself. So I want to say patience was the first, and then serving. My dad had he served a lot, juvenile detention centers and stuff like that. So I got a chance to watch that. So patience and serving were like the two main things that just stuck with me, because I saw it at a young age. I was a part of it, and it just carried me all the way to this day, and it's embedded in me, just like the football's in my DNA. Serving is also in my DNA as well. So those are the two things that really stood out.
So, did you always know you wanted to be a quarterback?
I always knew I could play the position, and my first 4 years in football, I didn't play quarterback. So I would play tight end and wide receiver, because I played with Duke Johnson growing up, and Duke was extremely talented. So Duke basically just ran us to championships from a young age. So there really was no need for me to play quarterback at that time. And then I was more so scared of getting hit, and I was more so scared of like being the guy that had to go out there and everybody had to listen to and get to play from and all that. So I got to watch our two other quarterbacks, because we had two quarterbacks. One guy was named Brian, and the other guy was Antonio. So Antonio would come in when it's time to pass. Brian would come in when it was time to run. But I got to watch them from afar, and I got to see how they operate. And that was another big thing. I was able to, analyze situations and circumstances. And then when I felt like it was time for me to play quarterback, my last 2 years of Optimus or Little League, I played quarterback at Liberty Square, which was like a pork and bean football team, and then Tacosi was another organization that was in inner city, but it wasn't Liberty City Warriors where I initially played my football start at. So I always knew I could play the position. It was more so the right timing of when I was ready to actually pursue the position at quarterback. So I've definitely always knew I would be a quarterback. So it was a no-brainer, basically.
So let's transition and talk a little bit about your high school and college journey. What was your most defining high school football moment?
The most defining high school football moment, I want to say, was the first time Teddy ended up getting injured, and we were playing Miami Springs. It was the first start I had I was in the 10th grade, and it was the first time I had to start. And leading up to this, probably about a year and a half before that, my mom would always make me stand in front of the mirror, and she would make me recite my name, recite my grade, what school I go to, what I want to be, and get prepared for interviews and stuff. So fast forward to like a year and a half later, we're playing Miami Springs. It's the first game I get a chance to start, and I went like 15 for 16 with like 5 touchdowns, one incompletion, which was a drop. And right after the game, like two camera guys, two interview came up right in front of me and just put the camera in my face, and then went to asking me questions. And I think that was most defining moment, because leading up into that, I had already prepared for that, not knowing that it would come, and then definitely not knowing that it would happen after a game. Like I said, I played with Bridgewater. I played with 7 other guys that were big time recruits at that time that they will come to talk to. So sophomores and freshmen, we weren't the guys that the media was coming to speak to. But now that the tables had turned, and Teddy was out for I think he was out for like 4 or 5 games, and now it was the next man up. they came, did the interview, and that was my most defining moment, I want to say, because obviously I had led up to that as far as interviewing, but it was like the first time where it was like, oh snap, like it's real. Basically, like you just played an exceptional game. You're on the radar. Now it's time for people to see how you interview, how you talk, and go from there. So I want to say that was my most defining moment. And then we went to Elite 11 that following season, and Orlando, it was Orlando, Florida, and basically was a top 100 quarterbacks in the state or in the nation, and it's basically like an accuracy challenge, or the guys that throw the football the furthest and the most accurate. And it came down to two people, and it was me and a guy named Jeff Driscoll, who played at the University of Florida. And I ended up placing second out of everybody that was there. And that's when I think my first article, like my first newspaper article, and that's when I realized, like, okay, what I'm doing is making noise. And that was also what helped me kind of stay patient, as far as like you got the ability, you got the skill set. There's no need to rush out there. You're still being seen, you're still making noise without even gracing the football field yet. Continue to just sit behind this guy, continue to learn. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the world. And those were my most defining moments for sure in high school.
So, how did you prepare yourself mentally for college level competition?
It was tough, man. I think the competition itself in Miami was what really prepared me. Going to the games, and the stadiums are super packed. The fans are super passionate. And then going to class, they peers, they're on top of you. You have a bad game, if whatever the case may be, like they're giving you that tough skin. They're giving you that like never get complacent. And then my dad was the same way. Even after that game I had my first start with the one in completion, he brought me back down to reality quick. Like the level of competition, that one throw X, Y, and Z, you could have made these two, three other plays. And that was what brought me back down to reality. That was what got my mind going. Like, all right, never get complacent. It's always something you can improve on and get better at. So that would kind of help mold and help shape me mentality wise. Because from that moment, I always looked at like, how can I be better? How can I get prepared a little bit better? How can I get mentally focused? How can I mentally get situated? And then graduated early from high school. Me and Amari Cooper, we both had like virtual school, and virtual school was like just getting started or getting popular. So we would have a lot of like Shakespeare and language art classes, but we would talk of football a lot. And then by the time our senior year came, we were done with school. So in our off time, it was just straight gym, or was just always just watching football, talking football. So that would kind of help get prepared mentally for the college level. And then I was 17 years old when I graduated and went off to school in January instead of going back to high school. And that's when it was like, oh snap, like it's a different world. You got a syllabus. Ain't nobody tell you what to do. They just tell you a time to be X, Y, and Z, and you got to be there. You got to show up. You got to be accountable. You got to be on top of whatever it is. And all my three of my roommates were all seniors, so they were all done with school, just playing football. They weren't trying to take care of no little baby, but they definitely, they definitely took me under their wings, and they definitely helped shape and guide and mold me. But those were that's basically how I got prepared mentally for college.
So, at FIU,
Mhm.
what records or honors meant the most to you?
I want to say the first one, which being the first true freshman starting quarterback to suit up and play, that meant the most, because leading up to that, man, Mario Cristobal was my head coach, and it was like two instances that happened before. One was our first game was against UCF, so we were playing Central Florida, and it's the pregame the day before, the night before the game, going over the plays, and at this time I'm third string quarterback, true freshman. I'm basically red shirting, but nobody ever said it. And I was only like 155 pounds when I got to when I got to college. So I was small. So I'm not on the radar. I'm not playing or anything, but I'm traveling with the team. And the night before the game, my offensive coordinator, Tim Cramsey, he's going through the plays. And instead of calling our starting quarterback, he calls on me to answer a question based off the game plan. So I'm soft spoken at the time, and I'm like, I answered the question, but it wasn't loud enough. And Coach Cristobal just ripped right into me, like made me feel super, super small. And I just remember that night, man. I went to the hotel. I went to like a staircase in the back. They had like probably 100 chairs stacked up, and I just climbed all the way to the back, man. I was back there sobbing and crying. And my high school center was now my college center, and our left guard, Jordan White and Donald Sinat. I don't know how they saw me or heard me, but instead of going through the elevator, they decided to take the stairs. And they got to like the midpoint where they were getting ready to go up the stairs, and they like, you hear that? So they looked around the corner, looked through the chairs, they saw me, they got me right, helped me out mentally, and then he had a meeting with my dad. So all of my coaches, they had a meeting with my dad. He was ready to let me go. He was ready to kick me off the team. And he told me, like, you'll never play for me. And then the following week, we played Louisville at our home. And we're going against Teddy Bridgewater, the guy that I backed up, sat behind. And it's like 30 seconds before halftime, our starting quarterback breaks his foot. But we don't know this at the time. He just scores a touchdown and jogs to the locker room, like what he always does. He left early. And we're just sitting in the locker chilling. And Cristobal just walks up to me, like, get ready to play. You going in? And I'm like, huh? Like, what happened? Like, what happened with Jake? Like, he's broken foot. He can't play. Like, you're going in the game. And this was right after he told me I'll never play for him. And then I just remember going to the training room, asking Jake, like, you good? Like, what happened? And he's like, nah, I can't play X, Y, and Z. And then that was the first time I got into some action. But like I said, I hadn't prepared. Thank God for James, our running back, Harton. And then we had two senior running backs who were just back there basically telling me the plays as they were signaling it in. And I didn't know what was going on, but I threw my first touchdown to Jacob Younger. I finished the game 9 for 10, and we ended up losing by a touchdown to those guys. But I think that was my most like memorable moment because everything up until that, like I said, it kind of shattered me. But the following week, it was opportunity, and then it all got squared away. And then being the first true freshman quarterback to play at that university, I think that meant the most to me.
So, what was the transition like from FIU to Valdosta State?
It was hard and not hard at the same time because I had been in Florida my whole football career, basically. Now branching off to Georgia, I don't know much about Georgia, and then especially Valdosta, which is a super, super small town, but it's a college town. So it reminded me of my high school area, and they're super big on football, super traditional. It's just a football college town, just one of those towns where you're going and you feel it. When the games are going, the town shuts down. Everything is geared towards football, around football, from the nurses, from the hospital to the sheriff department to the restaurants. Everything is geared towards that. So that kind of helped get me situated. And then we had a lot of seniors on that team. I think we had about 20 seniors on that team. So that kind of also helped. And then had a guy named Greg Dent, who was one of my receivers that played at Florida State. And he kind of helped me a lot because we both were seniors. He just dealt with some situations at Florida State, walked away from football and came back. So that transition was smooth. And then my two running backs, Cedric O'Neal and Scott, they two were seniors. And then Chris Anderson, CA, wide receiver, a Georgia kid, that definitely helped me a lot as far as the transition was concerned. So when I got to Valdosta, super, super, I definitely enjoyed it. And Coach Justin Roper, who played quarterback at Oregon, was my quarterback coach, and he helped lean everything out. Got there in the spring, so I was used to that because I had graduated early in spring. Then I got to Valdosta in spring of 2016 and earned a starting job about 2 months into camp, and then playing for Coach David Dean, who's also a legend in the Georgia sports. It was definitely awesome. I definitely thankful for Valdosta State giving me an opportunity with 1 year left, and just super, super grateful for that. So, like I said, it was hard at first because leaving, going to different place, going to a new place, new environment, having to reestablish yourself, having to reintegrate yourself. into a new atmosphere and getting situated. So, and playing for my third head coach because I played for Ron Turner after Mario Cristobal left, and then I played for Coach David Dean. So it definitely was an awesome transition.
So tell us about that transition from Florida to Georgia, because I'm sure culturally,
Mm-hmm.
going from where FIU is to Valdosta, Georgia, there's definitely a difference in culture. So can you tell us, how did you adjust to that culture, and what made that so much better for you being at Valdosta State?
The adjustment was known pretty quick because as soon as I left and got into Georgia, it was like 20 degrees. That was the first. That was like the first culture shock. Like, oh man, it get cold here. Like it's cold. And then I remember going to the house where we were staying at, and it was like right in the woods, trees surrounding everything. And I'm like, oh man, like this is not what I signed up for. Like this is not what I'm used to. Like, am I in the right spot? And we stayed like probably one block from the campus. The campus wasn't as big as Florida International's campus, and everything was smaller, but everything was like close knit. Everything was community based. It was tight oriented, and from there, that's when I was like, okay, this is the first culture shock because Miami is super big. I live probably 15, 20 minutes away from the campus at Florida International from where I grew up at. So that was also another adjustment coming from fast Miami, big city, and now coming to a super, super small area in Valdosta where it's 3, 4 stoplights, 10 stop signs, and everybody knows everybody, and super, super small place. And then having to get, uh, rejuvenated as far as implement yourself as a football player, getting back with the classes, the athletics, the academics, and then getting into the community also. So it definitely was a huge culture shock. But the weather was first and foremost the first thing that slapped me in the face, and then from there it was just getting adjusted to going from a big city to a super super small place. And I think that's what helped me out a lot. Being able to slow down as far as the environment, being able to slow down, and it almost seemed like chess all over again. Just being able to understand what it was that I was signing up for.
Mhm. So how did college football shape your leadership style?
It shaped it a lot. Uh, Pastor Franco, which was my first chaplain when I first got to FIU, he kind of helped me out a lot as far as the mental side of the game. And then Chad Smith, which was my first strength and conditioning coach at FIU, we both got there at the same time, same day when I graduated early and got there. So those two guys helped me mentally because they were help as far as speeding up the clock. Like, hey, you might be a freshman, but these men are looking up to you. These men are looking for leadership, and that's the position you in. So you have to be prepared for that. And then, like I said, growing up with my dad, he always subtly did things. Never really came out and said, "Hey, I'm doing this to help with that." But everything he did leading up as far as teachings and the stuff that he taught me helped shape and help get me prepared for that. So once I was in a position, I was able to identify, oh snap, like it's your time now. It's time for you to speak up. You can't just be a man of little words. Like you have to talk. You have to get it out. You have to say what needs to be said, when it needs to be said, and understand the timing and stuff like that. So that definitely helped me as far as the initial approach to college football. And then the older you get, my second coach, Ron Turner, was an older coach. So as far as like understand the player, he wasn't what you would call a player's coach. He was just strictly X's and O's. He was strictly the cerebralness of the game. He was strictly just a perform or not, and I'm moving on to the next player if you can't perform. Coach Cristobal was a player's coach. He was going to run through a brick wall for you, but he was also going to get on top of you. Like I said, he was going to rip right into you in front of whoever, in front of your mom, your dad. He didn't care, super passionate. And then Coach David Dean was like a mix of both of those guys. So being able to play for different coaches that brought a little different tenacity to the game, some were a little more laid back. They helped me because I was almost like a spitting image of what they were teaching us as far as translating from the office to the field and being able to the guys hear the same message, see the same message, and just being able to put my little stamp on it and be able to speak to the guys however it needed to be.
So let's talk about your career in the IFL. Um, what was the biggest challenge stepping into the indoor football league? What was that challenge like?
The biggest challenge was the speed of the game, and then the small field. So going from being outdoors, having all the space in the world, being able to take your time as far as the reads and stuff was concerned, and then being able to just let the football rip, not have to be confined to, hey, you got to take a little bit off of it, or you got to anticipate a little sooner. So soon as I got to the IFL, it was immediately like, all right, we got to dial back. We got to understand the game a little sooner, a little quicker, and be able to get the football out a little faster. So the small field definitely was a huge advantage and disadvantage, because I watched Kurt Warner a lot growing up, and I understood that he played in the Arena Football League. So I had already been watching him leading up into that, and before I even thought about going to play indoor football. So I already had an idea of what it was like, but being out there and getting out there in the real fireworks was a big test for me. And the cerebralness of the game, understanding things before they happen, was an advantage that I had. So once I got there, it took me like 4 games to understand it, and then from there, that's when it just clicked for me.
So, with you being twice named Offensive Player of the Year, what did those honors mean to you?
I think it just stamped everything that I had done leading up to that. So in high school, I had it 1 year basically to start my senior season, and in that season, I was named Miami-Dade County's Player of the Year. So basically, the top player, and we had talent that was far better than I was, as far as Dalvin Cook. I played with Amari Cooper in high school, who was an outstanding wide receiver, and Duke Johnson also was across the street from our high school. So I played with 3 guys that were just head above heels as far as talent, super talented. And then to be named the player of the year kind of helped that. And then once I got to the IFL, uh, going through the different phases in college and getting to the IFL, I was sort of like a late bloomer, like a guy that clicked late, or a guy that they clicked for later, or a guy that was able to get all the mental notes he needed. And then once the opportunity came, it was like, oh, where have you been this whole time, or why haven't this happened in the past, or whatever the case may be. So to get that back to back twice, it just solidified and stamped the hard work leading up to that moment, and then it just stamped my abilities, and just the confidence that I had, because I didn't think about it during the season like, hey, I'm trying to go get this, I'm trying to go do that. But the culmination of everything just adding up towards the end of the year came to that. So definitely was truly thankful to be honored and be named the top offensive guy in the league those 2 years, and just truly was blessed.
Well, it sounds like to me, because your humbleness is definitely something to praise, really, because I mean, it sounds like you're being really humble, but I mean, just in true essence, I mean, I can say that those guys had to feel the same about you, because I think, as you say, Mitch, playing that quarterback position and being the leader of men, there had to be something about you in your game
Yes.
that had to pull these guys in and pull them along and get them on board with you and the way that you did things. So, what was the relationship like with all those guys, including those guys in the IFL? What was that like?
It was exceptional. A lot of younger guys, they would be hesitant. Later, I got in my career, they would be hesitant, to come up and ask questions. Uh, but the more I understood the magnitude of, okay, these guys are looking at me like the big dog, or they're looking at me like the cream of the crop. So how do I reinvigorate that? And my mom used to always cook when I was in college, because I wasn't too far at home. So she would cook, bring food over, and then me and the guys would fellowship over that. And then once I got to past college, like at Valdosta, like I said, there was a lot of seniors, so we were all a little close knit. And then once I got to the IFL, Quentin Pedroza was my roommate, so we roomed together, so we had a great relationship. And then from that, guys gravitate towards you. They want to be around you, and they want to just be in your presence. So understanding guys off the field, taking a deeper dive into who the guys were, what led them here, and I think asking the right questions and the guys seeing like how sincere you are, and how enjoyable you are off the field, and just being able to kick it and vibe with you, and like from that, that's how I learned how to challenge the guys. That's how I learned how to lead the guys the right way, and that's how I learned like to make sure the guys were on point. So I walked that fine line of being the big bro, but also being the leader, but also being stern, but also being the guy that they could say, "Hey, man, I'm struggling with this." So once I realized, guys were coming to me with things outside of football, and that they trusted me with more, that's when I understood the magnitude of everything I had done leading up to this point, from middle school all the way to high school, college, and then now, shaped and molded me to be the individual that God called me to be, and just be a leader of men, to be able to be a burden carrier, I would say, so to speak, and a guy that can just take on a lot and still be able to perform what he needs to perform, but still be able to have the empathy to say, "Hey, we're gonna get to that later. We're gonna focus on this right now," or "We're gonna save that for a later time," and being able to help identify where we at in the moment, be where our feet are, and understanding the timing of when this conversation need to be had, or when we need to flip this switch. So I would definitely say that helped a lot, being able to flip that switch on and off. And I know most people don't do it or can't do it, but that was just something I think I was blessed with, to be able to flip that switch.
We got a comment here, here in the chat from WP Publishing. Let me just put it on the screen for you.
Okay.
And it says, excellent experience for gaining life skills beyond football. How have the skills you've learned benefited you beyond football? What has been your top life takeaway and life takeaway you'd like to share with YouTube? Well,
Uh,
with use. I'm sorry, with you.
okay. So the first part was how the skills you learned benefited you beyond football. Like I was telling Mr. King earlier, I want to say the patience and the serving is what the skills that I learned that benefited me beyond football. To understand that it was just, it's bigger than you, even if you are the main focal point, even if you are the person that everybody's looking at. The way you serve others is how everything works together, making everybody feel heard, making everybody feel seen, making everybody know that they have a voice, and that leadership isn't just "I got the final say so," or "the buck stops with me." Is being able to internalize, everything that is going on, and be a problem creator and a problem solver. So I think that's what helped me a lot as far as the skills, being able to create problems before they happen, being able to create problems even in the midst of things going good, and always looking for how do we create an atmosphere or a situation that we can have an answer for, even if something never happens, we're prepared for it. So I think that helped as far as the preparation. And then what has been the top life takeaway you like to share with the youth? I tell them all the time, man, patience, especially in the game of football. It's one of the most humbling sports. All sports are humbling, but football is one of those that kind of, it can break your spirit mentally, physically, especially because how hard it is. And the patience was extremely important, because most of the kids nowadays are just like, if I ain't playing, something ain't adding up. Like, I need to go somewhere where I'm playing. I need to go somewhere where I'm the man. I need to go somewhere where I'm getting all the shine. And that's not what it's about, because at that point you're just performance based everything, and sports have you down in the dumps. You're just doing something just to get a performance or just to be acknowledged, because once you get it, you understand, like, man, this ain't what I thought it was. Like, this ain't what it's cracked up to be. And I want to be somewhere where my skills are being developed, where my skills are being utilized, and where I'm able to help sharpen other guys. And I want to be around guys that I may have to take a step back and listen to, or they may have to take a step back and listen to me. So I want to say patience and discernment being able to understand the situation, understanding where you're at in the situation, and then being able to move accordingly from there. So, and I try my best to share that with the youth all the time because everybody, I want to play, I got to play. If I ain't playing right now at the age of 8, 9, 10, then I ain't gonna be nothing by 20 years old. And it's like that's so far from the truth. And you rather learn them patient lessons now at 12, 13, as opposed to 30, 33, 34 years old. And this is the first time you're ever dealing with something that it's like you have to be patient and you're just not used to that. So
So, so as you're doing this right now, and as we've gotten to this point where we've gotten up to the part now where we're talking about your career in the IFL, what are some things that some advice you'd like to give to some of these younger quarterbacks that are playing in this big pool of talent like you did, where you had all of these all stars, including yourself, all of you guys playing together. And you know, they always say when you got so many egos that it just don't work.
no,
What kind of advice? What advice would you have for these younger players, especially young quarterbacks?
especially young quarterbacks, man, is understanding there can only be one guy that goes out there. The main goal of quarterbacks is to be the leaders. The main goal of the quarterback is to galvanize the group and get everybody focused on one accord and being able to understand where you're at. This may be my season to sit down. This may be my season to help prepare the starter. This may be my season to make sure the starter has everything off the field that he needs. I'm his eyes and his ears off the field. Whatever he missed, I'm able to let him know in the way that he can receive it, and not in the way where he feels like you're threatening his job or you're trying to demean him or you're trying to point out every flaw he has. Many quarterbacks that I played with, they always like, man, every time I finish the rep, like you always telling me good job, or you always telling me this, or you always, helping praise me in a way that I would think you would just be the total opposite. And I'm like, man, I watched it as a kid. I watched it through high school. I watched one of the best players in the world help me get the reps. I watched him say, hey, now you know what? Do it this way. Hey, now you know what? The colleges I'm committed. He was committed to Miami at the time, so all the colleges that would come through, he like, man, I'm good, but man, it's a guy behind me. I think you need to check him out. I think you need to take a look at him. So having somebody that kind of passed the torch to you, but still allowed you to be free as far as I'm gonna try my best to make sure you get in the fourth quarter, make sure you get some reps in, and then go from there. So I think especially for young quarterbacks, man, it's a lonely position. It's a lonely thing to be a quarterback and not be the guy on the field. That's the part that most people don't talk about. The 2 or 3 guys that are on the bench that has to fight those mental battles of, am I good enough? Do I have it? Should I leave? Should I stay? Should I go? And it always comes back to serving. Like, man, I'm here to serve the greater good for the team. I'm here to serve what the team need, and I'm here to serve the decision the team has, because I don't want to be a cancer. I don't want to be, because I was a quarterback that would divide locker rooms because guys are like, man, what are we doing? Like, why is he not playing? And I would have to, because I remember the first time I got benched against Bethune-Cookman, my coach told me the night before the game, he brought me in the office, told me the night before the game, like, you could throw 4 touchdowns, you could throw 4 interceptions. I'm taking you out the game at some point. I'm putting in our other quarterback, which was Alex Magoo, and he like, I'm taking you out the game. And I remember when he took me out the game, nobody knew but me and Alex. And the guys coming up like, you hurt? Like, what's going on? Like, why you not playing? What's the word? And I had to, in that moment, say, you know what? This is bigger than me. No, and not divide the team. But eventually guys found out what happened and guys knew something was off. But it wasn't like, man, this EJ told us this. What's going on? It was like, you know what? You went 12, 14 weeks and you just kept your mouth shut, and nobody would have ever known unless one of the coaches said anything. So I say serving is the most important, man, because when you're in that position as a starter, you don't want to be looking over your shoulders like, man, this guy behind me is trying to sabotage me, or he's telling me the wrong reads, or whatever the case may be. And when you're the second and the third guy, you want to help that starting quarterback. Like, the better you do, the better we do. And if we're doing good, I may get a chance to play, I may not, but I understand what it means to help serve the greater good and take a back seat and guys see that. That's what leadership comes from. I've always been a captain on every team, whether I was starting or not, because coaches would see that, guys would see that, and that carries you further than anything could ever carry you.
So let's jump over to your coaching and mentorship, because I think this was one of the things that when we were chatting, and you would tell me about the things that you were trying to do and what you were trying to start, especially for the area in which you're in that's not as populated as where you're from, but you're actually making it work. And this is what I think is one of the things that is so important when we talk about giving back. What inspired you to start your academy?
I've always done it since 2016. So my son's oldest cousin, Trandon, was the first kid I was able to train. It was 2016, and Trandon was about 8 or 9 years old, and his dad PJ just gave me the honors to help his son as far as the development, the skills were needed to play the quarterback position. And then from there throughout college, once a week, I would go to the kids hospital, and I would be able to go to like a local community and just help the quarterbacks. So I've always been a kid that always wanted to help the guy, even if his skills were going to be better than mine, or even if the starting quarterback was going to get 2 or 3 more touchdowns because of something we saw in film. So that's where it started from. And then the older I got, once I got out of college and finished up in the IFL, I walked away from the job I had selling cars because I was like, man, I'm not fulfilling my purpose. Like something's off. Like I don't feel like I'm doing what I need to do. And in that moment, I just sat down and I just just seek God's face. He placed it on my heart to just do the nonprofit where I train kids and give them, the tools that they need to be equipped. So that was about around February of this past year when the seed was planted. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. I have no idea how to start a business from ground up and get to the point where we're at now, but just putting that foot forward and said, this is what I want to do, no matter the circumstances. And then from there, it just was able to start with one kid and then 2 kids. And before you know it, it just grew tremendously. And now we're to the point, just serving the kids, serving the community, letting them know, football can help you go across the countries. It can help you go across the world. And it can also help resource and network, and then help other people. And you put other people's needs first. You serve the community, and not look for anything in return. Just do it from the heart. Because I know this is something that I enjoy doing. Something that if I get paid to do it, good. I don't think you could pay me enough for my time, but this is just something that I know I need to do and be a part of. So that's where it started from. And then now it's just making sure everything is just right. The foundation is laid the correct way, building the right business partners, building the right, people, the right individuals, and going about it the right way. So it started there, and then next thing you know, we're just in a position where we're still building the foundation, but a lot of people are taking notice, and a lot of people are wanting to see what it is that we're doing and what it is that we're trying to offer, what it is that we're trying to get to the community. And some people understand it, most people don't. And like I said, I always just want to bless the people and serve the people that I'm meant to serve. I ain't trying to serve every quarterback in the world. I just want to serve the kids and the young men that God just allowed me to have leadership and authority over. And I just want to make sure I do it the right way. So I don't want to bite off more than I could chew, but I also want to be prepared for whatever the case may be, because I know that's how it works. You start off saying, man, I just want to do 5 or 6, and next thing you know, it's 55, 60 people knocking at your door. So I just want to make sure everything is being done the right way. So I want to say earlier in this year is when the seed was planted, and then from there, just continuing to water the seed the correct way, continuing to serve and lead the correct way.
So, how do you translate your playing experience into your coaching strategies?
A lot of it is hands on. A lot of it is speaking and talking, and I'm thankful I'm able to break stuff down super, super quick in real time and be able to give the correct feedback that's needed. And I think that's the most important part of it, because a lot of people can give you drills. A lot of people can go on YouTube and give you the drills that's necessary, that's needed to help further you. But not many people can see exactly what it is you did wrong in real time and give you correct feedback, and then continue to push you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, but a way that you say, you know what, that's something I need. Like I know I need that right there. I know that's what's going to help me get prepared and get better. And that's my approach is to push you beyond your limits, is to make you uncomfortable, is to challenge you, is to ask you 100 questions in the middle of training, is to get your brain operating, and then just have you do something simple as far as throw the ball 5 yards. But I'm asking you 20 different things in that and helping you understand how quick and how cerebral and how many nuances the game brings. So that's my approach as far as being hands on and as far as just being there and just being somebody that can see it, identify it, understand it, and then add the nuances to it and just allow the person to be them. I'm not trying to change how you play quarterback. It's unique to you. I'm just trying to help you understand what you're doing and for you to be able to identify it as well.
Are you using some of those strategies that your father used with you, like the chess game?
I haven't used those yet. When I worked at a I didn't work at a juvenile detention center, but a guy that trained with in Florida, Vernon Kearney, we would go visit the juvenile detention centers, and we would go inside of there probably once a week for about 2 or 3 months, and we would be able to do that with those guys. And then most of the guys here, like I'm still getting established in the area, but most of the guys understand it. But it's just like walking a fine line of the guys knowing what you're trying to do, but fighting against the time of, hey, I want to go play baseball, I want to go play basketball, or I want to go do something else. And then you get the few kids that's like, man, I want that. Like I need that. Help me with everything that needs to go as far as that. So the chess definitely something that's going to get implemented because it's just the number one strategy game. It's just a game that helps you think. It's a game that just sits you down and make you quiet and make you understand what it is you're trying to get accomplished. And but most of it is just writing it down, making it plain, allowing you to understand how far this game could take you and you know what great things this game could do for you, and then helping you understand your purpose in the game and understanding, you know, you're a leader. This is something that you're going to be doing for another 5, 10, some guys 20 years. So understanding how to navigate all of that.
So, what's the most rewarding part of working with young athletes?
The most rewarding part is knowing that you're serving them the correct way, knowing that you're leading them the proper way, and you're not leading them straight. You're not doing it for the wrong reasons. You're not doing it to exploit them, or you're not doing it to get something out of it. So I would say serving them the correct way is the most rewarding outside of, you know, being literally drained, literally drenched in sweat, literally depleted because you just gave them everything that you had and emptying yourself out to give them what it is that they're going to need as far as the requirements and the mentorship and somebody that's there physically pushing them in the right direction. So I think it's definitely tricky when you're dealing with young kids, you're dealing with young athletes because they're sponges, man. So they soak up everything from the way you prepare, from the way you pull up, from the way you get out the car, from the way you bring water, from the way you make sure everybody has breaks, the way you engage with different athletes, the way you talk to those guys, the way you check on them and make sure everything's going good outside of the game. And then you're leaving an impression on them because you're somebody that they look up to, you're somebody that they admire, you're somebody that they spending their quality time with. So you got to make sure that you're on point, that you're not bringing anything unnecessary, you're not causing discourse, you're not sowing bad seed. So that's something I'm truly thankful for, to be able to have the opportunity to sow great seeds, because I know one day, man, these kids are gonna say, hey man, he did it for me, let me go do this for this kid. Let me reach back. Somebody did it for me. Let me go help change one life, or let me go help change 10,000 lives. So you just never know. But I think that's the beautiful thing about being with kids and serving kids, man. You got to make sure your heart and your mind is in the right spot.